Hello and welcome. I'm Charles Aite. Let's start with our first story. Government has been charged to focus more on efficient tax measures in order to achieve the 2021 revenue target. Now, this is coming on the back of fears that revenue may suffer this year following the indefinite suspension of the reversal of the benchmark value policy on some imports. Government is targeting about 100 billion cedis from tax revenue and grants in 2022. The finance consultant, Dr. Daniel Sedo, and economist Professor Peter Korte have been sharing their thoughts on PM Express Business Edition with George Riafe.
The challenge really is the way we look at these things. There's no difference between us and government. We are all working for the same interests. You need the government needs the businesses. So how do we operate as one unit and be very efficient? Prof talk about efficiency. If you look at this economy, a major problem is efficiency.
Both government and businesses.
Unfortunately, the public sector injects the private sector with a high level of inefficiency. We can debate that. So in my view, the government agencies should be working with the companies. Prof talk about record keeping. Sometimes they don't even understand the issues. So GRA, so far
I think that understanding the tax system is a hell for a lot of these small, medium-sized enterprises. It's not a problem because
it is.
You work in a lot of companies, you advise a lot of companies as well.
Yes, it is. So GRA should set up a unit where they go help some of these institutions. Now, if we are efficient, manage our costs very well, our profit will go up.
The government comes in terms of taxation, in terms of regulations, in terms of providing utilities, constant supply of utilities, and many others. And in all of this, in the midst of COVID, in the midst of the pandemic, you ought to strike a good balance. So taxes, for instance. How do you pay your taxes in this environment? Luckily these days we've gone digitalization, so it's much easier to pay or file your tax online. But it depends on the revenue flow as well. Are you making the right amount of revenue that you could pay your taxes? If not, then you ought to get your accountant or whoever to show your books in a good manner. So keeping proper records is very critical in this moment. Otherwise, if you don't have the records, the taxman will estimate your revenue for you, and that can put some people or some businesses in trouble.
Well, you first heard Dr. Daniel Sedo, a financial consultant, and Professor Peter Korte, an economist and director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, speaking to George Riafe on PM Express, the business edition.